Hi, so today what we're going to do, since we didn't get to it last week, we're going to focus on the last 4 lines of the Star Spangled Banner harmonization. We'll do largely what we did in the last video for the first 4 lines. So what we'll do is first sight read through the right hand, sight read that melody, and my phone over there almost fell out, and then we will work our way through the left hand chords. Okay? By this point, you should be really familiar with the first 4 lines, so if you haven't already, start putting those hands together. Next week, we will have a video on putting the whole thing together, okay? But for right now, we're going to start at measure 17. Remember, we have C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp are in A major, so we need to watch out for those. And let's sight read through the right hand. So I'm going to go mid-tempo, kind of fast, kind of not, so... 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, go. Very familiar tune, so it should not be a struggle. What I want you guys to do is focus more on the left-hand chords. But in terms of fingering, use everything that they have given you. It's good. You can move around really well. Make sure that your fingering is really, really, really solid. That way you kind of have guideposts not only in terms of notes, but with that, you know how you're moving around. If you change the fingering every time, it's kind of like driving your car, but not on the road. You can get there, but it's going to be a little bit shaky and scary. I'll just say that. A couple of fingering things. There was one that I wanted to add in here, and that's measure 27. Beat 1 on that B. See if you can put your second finger on that. So that way you can get 4 up on D, and then you can keep going as much as you have. So if you back into that, you're on and 2, 1, 2. That'll be, as long as you do that substitution fingering on beats 2 and 3 and measure 26, that should be fine. Okay, so now you can pause this and practice that if you'd like, or if you'd like, we'll focus on the main thing that we wanted to get done, which was left-hand chords. So all of these should be familiar from what you had before. So A, obviously, we're going to be in root position A chord. For the E chord, what I'm going to do is G sharp B E. It's easier to grab, but if you want to jump from root position to root position, that's okay, as long as you can get around easily and you have the right notes. Those are the things I'm looking for. So A, E, and then A again, E. Now here's our F sharp minor chord. So what I'm going to do is the easiest. A, F sharp, or A, C sharp, and F sharp. In first inversion this time, make sure that it's minor. That way I can grab this B7 chord right here. Another way that you can do that is if you're in root position for F minor, you do D sharp, A, and B right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is probably actually go to the root position for F minor, and then get that B7 chord, and then grab an E major triad. What measure is this? 24. Okay, so you've got that 5-7-1 progression that we've done a few times. Okay, so now, excuse me, they want a very specific inversion for this in measure 25. We have an A chord, but they want C sharp in the bass. So find your C sharp, and then you need E and A above it to make it that full A major chord. Okay, That way you can grab D major in regular inversion. For this measure, they want you to do B minor. Actually, I'm going to go down here and do that. What I would recommend is just do B minor with D in the bass the whole way, because you're already right there with D in your bass on that D major chord in measure 26. So I'm going to actually just cross out that B minor chord and do it there. However, if it helps for you to stay locked in with the piece by doing exactly what they asked, then you can do that. I'm only asking that you have the right notes. This is just ways to make it easier if you do these inversions. So if we go from D to B minor with D in the bass, all you have to do is shift A up to B. That's it. Then they want A major with E in the bass. So first find E in your bass, and then you just need the other two notes, A and C sharp, and then to E. Cool. Now back to A with C sharp in the bass, E major. Now they want they want A with E in the bass. So they want E, A, and C sharp, and then an A major in root position. That's a lot of moving, so quite frankly, if you want to do A, C sharp, and then just land on an A major triad, that's totally fine. It's going to add a little bit more complexity if you can do these chord inversions, but I'm just looking for the right notes. Okay, so we are in measure 30. If we've lost track, there's a lot of chord changes, so you may have to practice this part much more than any other part in this. It's okay. Divide and conquer. If you have to spend one day just on measure 25 to the end, that's okay. Anyways, so A major in measure 30. And then I would recommend doing E, A with E in the bass, so that you can get this E7 chord. I'm playing every single note of this. What you could also do, if you stay in an A root position, you can do G sharp, D, and E, that chord inversion that we've played so many times before, to A major at the end. Okay, so I know that that's a lot, but what I want you guys to do, if you're struggling a little bit with where to go when we have about 10 million chords in these last two lines, is actually sit down and write out what notes you're going to play kind of stacked from bottom to top. So for example, in measure 25, I'm going to play C sharp in my bass, and maybe I'm going to circle that so that I know that's my starting note, and then I have A and E. I would highly suggest that if you have not printed this out, that you do, so that you can write anything that you want in this. You're playing on the midterm, it's totally fine. Okay? All right, so with that being said, I'm going to go back through and play just left hand by itself. This video is already really, really bloated, so we're just going to play through it, and I'll call out chord names. Okay? Measure 17. A, 2, 3, 1, 2. E. 3, 1, 2, 3. A, 2, 3. E. F sharp minor. B7. E. A with C sharp in the bass. D, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do B minor with D in the bass. And then A with E in the bass. What you can do right there is actually hold the E and just slide from A and C sharp to G sharp and B. And then hold that for as long as you want. You can be indulgent with the fermata. Measure 29. A with C sharp in the bass. B. A with E in the bass. A. Then I'm going to stay just in an A root position. B7. A. Good. You may not be quite there yet on my speed. That's okay. Use the first part of this video to practice, and then use the second half to kind of practice and make sure that your chords are correct. Okay, next week we are going to go ahead and put the whole thing hands together pretty slowly.